using my old phone here because the new one, as usual, the iPhone doesn't really like to keep a good battery, and that's what you get when you get one. And having issues with my eye watering up for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. So what to look at? Let's look ahead. Okay, so this week we've got the end of the Bad Batch, the very last episode in the series. And Saturday on May the 4th, we will get Tales of the Empire. So there's that. We'll look forward to that. Next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, Disney's going to do their second quarter earnings call. Not at the usual 4:30 in the afternoon, but at 8:30 in the morning with a big announcement. A resident flying monkey, Pablo Hidalgo, decided to shut down his public account where he doesn't follow anybody. But he has like 30,000 followers. I'm sure they're all real. But I'll show you. Just because I think. Closed for Q2, back in July. Now, there might be some, I know for a fact that his family's experiencing some kind of issues going on. I'm not going to get into them. They're nobody's business. But he only does that really when there's something bad going on for him. I mean, we saw it in 2018. We saw it again after he came back and then got into it on his private account with when he said something shitty about not just Star Wars theory, but of all of us, upon the reveal that Luke Skywalker shows up in Mando's episode 16 and kicks the shit out of everybody. Okay, didn't like that. He didn't like that. Emotions aren't for sharing. Okay, but now he's got himself closed off for that. Let's look at what we know. Let's go back. Let's go back to where it started to look very different. Okay. Kathleen Kennedy, it'll be a year now this month, walks into Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at the Cannes Film Festival and is greeted by I can't touch that thing because if I do, I'll have to calibrate that piece of crap. Thank you. She walked into the Cannes Film Festival, sat down to watch Dial of Destiny, and suddenly Willow's been canceled and pulled from Disney. And the Star Wars Hotel, her baby, $1 billion I might add, is no longer. They're closing it. They closed it a year ago, September. That's where this started. Then we get to Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny premiere in Los Angeles. And she's completely ignored on purpose by Steven Spielberg. Okay. Hiding behind George Lucas and trying to use him as a shield or crash helmet or some shit. All right. So I get a phone call. I'm in the parking lot getting ready to see the movie. I get a phone call from Cameron, and he's like, Kennedy's been suspended from email at Lucasfilm. And next, oh, Jack! Stop it! Stop it! Come here. Come. Sorry, guys. So, then the next week, come here. Come on. Dog is nuts. That's what happens when you have a shepherd. I mean, I've got the front windows closed, and he still heard something that he had to announce to the whole planet he's here. Anyway, so the next week, Kennedy is at a meeting on the 3rd of May, or the 3rd of July, and is confronted with the cold hard truth that she has not done well at Lucasfilm, and she turns around. Actually, I think that would be the other way around, Cross. Kojak's afraid of the neighbor's 14-year-old chihuahua. I'm not kidding. He's a big, he's chicken shit is what he is, but, well, I don't know. I shouldn't really say that. I've never seen him. I've never been in a situation where he's had to bear fangs at anybody. He's never done that in his life. But he's also never felt threatened. Usually, if he's scared, like it's thundering and lightning, he tries to crawl up inside my clothes. It doesn't work, but there you go. Anyway, so Kennedy is in a meeting with Iger and the other principals, Dana Walden and Alan Bergman and a bunch of lawyers probably. And they confront her with the fact that the movie's a failure. They knew it was going to be a failure. They confront her with everything. She turns around and says, "But what about Marvel? What about Pixar?" All the rest of this shit. Trying to blame Iger for all of it, including her failures. Now, Iger, I have heard mixed reviews of him. He's either a total asshole or he's not. I have a feeling that he probably is a pretty good guy to work for. He doesn't lose his temper easily. But when he does, it's like, there's the desk, go hide under it. Okay. And anyway, he lost his shit with her. So she barely goes to France with her husband for their getaway after their successful movie launched. Stop laughing. And she comes back, she's not allowed on the campus at Lucasfilm. There were 5 guys that showed up, lawyers from C-suite, 7th floor at Disney. And they were basically like, no. And it became this thing because if you looked at any pictures that were posted on like Instagram that Frank would post, they were all them in Spain, in Mallorca, in Provence, trying out the new rosé and Portugal, drinking port and probably very expensive, very old port. I just saw an ad from Big Hammer Wines where they're selling a port, I think it's like 150 years old, for $5,000. Give me a break. Anyway, little way, I mean, if I was a billionaire, I'd still be like, no, I'm not going to buy that. I'd rather spend $5,000 on a good horse. I mean, or a fine shotgun. I'm sure fuck not going to buy that. So, and then they went to, they were in Provence, they went to Paris, they went to London. I know that they have property in London, Kensington, I think. And then we get, it's literally silence. All we know is that emails are being pulled out. Like 40 people quit, from what I heard. It was never announced. It's really weird how Disney will announce Marvel's laying off 15 people. Turns around and saying nothing when people quit at Lucasfilm. And it's like, and of course, Lord Toranaga, my friend, who's got a friend at one of the big studios, a guy's an executive, 7th floor, by the way, basically said, yeah, there's shit going down at Lucasfilm. Okay. So, and that was last year. And then in September, October, they put their Malibu house on sale for 18.9 million. You know, you start looking at the other property. I've bought and sold houses before. You're comparing the price, and there were properties that were a lot nicer. Let me explain. There was a property for like 9 million, I think, almost in the same area, looking over the Malibu beach, and it had a movie theater. It didn't have a swimming pool, but it had a movie theater. Having owned a house in Florida with a swimming pool, you'd rather have the movie theater, and the reason why is because swimming pools are a pain in the ass to take care of. You have to almost be a professor in chemistry to do it. And I'm like, no, I don't really want, you know, to deal. I wouldn't want to deal with that anymore. But you start looking at the house really wasn't worth what they were asking for because there are way better deals out there and had, more acreage. There's more to them. The closets were bigger. The things that are really important. So it was on the market for over 200 days, close to 200 days. And they dropped the price to 16.9. It didn't sell. They dropped the price to 14.9, and then it sold for 12.7. Or, yeah. It's like, so they didn't get what they wanted. And that was just, the 1st of March or the 1st of April? I can't remember. So, okay, they sold it. She's nowhere to be seen. The last place we see her, she's at the Writers Guild Awards with Tony Gilroy, and that's it. Okay. And what did you ask him before? All right, do you think it could be, but he just had a grueling at Lucasfilm just saying, I'm sorry, what's happening with this family? And that's just me, maybe, but, all right. So then we got, Pablo shutting down his public account, privating it. Why? All right. What's going on here? We've got next week in the morning, Disney's going to make a big announcement. And, when the rumor came out from Roger Christian that George is maybe coming back, you're looking at it going, is that the big announcement? And you got to remember when people start saying, oh, he's just saying that, he doesn't know, you're looking at him going, why wouldn't he? No. Okay. Then you've got the ageist bullshit, and that's Pro doing it, that's Geeks and Gamers doing that, that's Drunk doing that, that's Gary doing that. They have absolutely no respect for anybody older than them. And that makes them just like Pablo and the SJWs. Okay. Doesn't matter that Kathy Kennedy's going to be 71 if she's not already. All right. She works hard at maintaining the look she's got too. So it's like I look at it and go, all you really have to do is help get the story out there. Look at the scripts, doing that. He doesn't have to go to the set very much. He doesn't even have to take over leadership of Lucasfilm. Okay. All he has to do is be an influence on John and Dave. Okay. And that could be the announcement, but even though I do think it is probably going to be I'll be disappointed if it's CEO. First off, the way Iger's been talking and the way he talked a month ago, they weren't close. They were interviewing candidates. They were doing this, and this. I'm hoping it's not Dana Walden. I don't trust her. She would have to really show herself to care about the business and doing the right thing for the franchises that IPs that Disney owns and everything. I'd much rather have Josh D'Amaro or Alan Bergman, who basically has probably been part of the decision making about both Marvel and Lucasfilm. Okay, Dana Walden does TV. All right, but still, okay, all right. So we've got all that going on. We don't know what they're going to announce, and yet we have no transparency as far as what's going on at Lucasfilm. All we have is Sparrow telling us, okay, someday the Black Pills are going to really be embarrassed by everything they've done over this stuff. And hopefully it's going to be sooner rather than later. You know, you got to look at everything. You've got to look at what we know and line up the rumors. And the only one that makes any sense is Sparrow. Okay. The rumor about Favreau leaving. All right. In 2 years? Really? Because that's called pushing back the goalposts. All right. Because look, it's one-upsmanship, and my thing has got to be right, and it will be right, and I will make it look right. That's what they do. They don't give a shit about the facts. Facts are, he is making Heir to the Empire with Filoni. He's helping with that, and he's filming Mando and Grogu as a movie. Well, look, if you are vested in a narrative that you've made up yourself, that in no way, shape, or form resembles reality, but you're so vested in it, you can't be flexible enough to go, oh, okay. You know, so this is what will happen. One of these days, sooner rather than later, we're going to wake up and get the news that Kathleen Kennedy has either taken a leave of absence and has been gone, and it has been gone from Lucasfilm and it will not come back. And her contract is up in October. Okay, we'll see that. They will then turn all their focus and rage on to Favreau and Filoni. Now I'm going to say this. When you get people who are politically minded, like Benny Arthur Johnson, he was a Senate staffer. I think he was a professional staffer, which means he worked for a committee rather than a senator. He also worked for the Daily Caller, which is Tucker Carlson's news website. Okay, it's the first real venture he put into conservative news. And he knows Tucker. He doesn't know anything about the culture. He doesn't know anything. He gets Gary, Nerdrotic, and Critical Drinker on there. And Gary doesn't have anything to offer. He's just angry. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you guys some advice. The reason why we have so many people like Gary around is A, they feed off each other. And as you noticed, not one of the big website or YouTube channels has a different point of view. It's all the same one. It's all the same one. And you gotta go, what? That's stupid. Doesn't anybody think for themselves? And what they're saying doesn't fit the facts. Okay. And you start going, okay, this is fucked up. Okay. And if you hang out with people like that, and if you keep thinking about your failures, your things that make you sad, just misery in general, you're going to have a mental breakdown. You are going to be a very unhappy, depressed human being, and you're not going to be fun to hang around with. That is not a healthy way to live. Okay. And people who are so negative, like Gary, like Critical Drinker, and idiots like Benny, I mean, it's like Benny talk about politics. Okay. And if you've ever watched his channel or podcast, he is literally one of the most unbelievably boring people on the planet. And he's so fucking phony when he gets faux rage. I call it faux rage. And, hey, Cross, do you want to take care of this asshole? Thank you. Thank you, Cross. It's just, you're watching all this shit and you're going, why is he even talking to these guys? Why is he even interested? They talk about the culture war. You got 3 people who have no idea what they're talking about. Okay? My idea of doing any franchise, any movie properly, is when you walk into the movie and you don't know the politics of the people who made it. The actors, the producers, the writers, the directors. Okay? Let's say you walk into Silo. Immediately you got these fucking left-wing assholes. These woke scumbags. Okay, and that's exactly what you got out of it. The Last Jedi. Woke trash. All right. I mean, Cameron Pasha has no problem saying it's the worst movie ever made. Now, I would disagree. I think it's the baby of The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens shouldn't even exist. The Force Awakens is garbage. Okay. It is garbage. Okay. They made $2.03 billion on it. But it's garbage. I mean, look at The Last Jedi. When people heard when the spoilers came out, people just didn't go because it didn't address the problems with The Force Awakens. It was a fucking nothing burger, is what it really was. And it fucked up the trilogy so bad that there was no saving it then. And that's the truth. Don't like it? Fuck off. Okay. But you've got people on the side that hate the sequel trilogy, unwilling to admit things are changing. Okay, and I've talked about this before, but what is Anakin Skywalker doing in the world between worlds? In the Veil of the Force, like as Anakin. Yeah, and Cross is right. When I decided it wasn't worth being angry about anymore, I was like, I'm watching it, I was like, because there has to be a solution. Here's the deal. If Gary or Ryan Cannell or that Jeremy Griggs ever talk about solutions, find me. Because they're just like the politicians in DC that don't care. All they do is bitch, ask for more money, and bitch some more so they get more money. Okay? These guys bitch, but there's no way out. There's no suggested turnaround. And if you say, well, if they're getting rid of the sequel trilogy, no, they're not. They're never gonna do it. BlackRock, because they're conspiracy theorists. They really are. I'm a something's not adding up theorist. Okay. I'm a why is the government trying to hide the fact that the coronavirus came from a lab in Wuhan, China? Why are they lying about the value of ivermectin? I know why. Because Moderna and the rest of the pharmaceutical companies made a hell of a lot of money on filling people full of a poison called their vaccine. Okay. And now you're going, it's just a cold, and it was just a cold. If they wanted to protect older people, protect them. But I don't think any kids died from it. Okay. They went too far. Now you've got young people, younger than me, dying of heart attacks that were never sick before in their lives, and they were vaccinated and boosted. That is something that's not adding up. Okay. And the reason why they were so upset about ivermectin is because it's cheap to make. So they labeled it horse wormer and told you it wasn't going to do anything for you, even though I read an article, I think it was in one of the papers in Florida, where a guy got COVID. He was really, really sick, was in the hospital, and basically said the doctor gave me ivermectin and I survived. The thing that actually killed people with COVID are the respirators, are the, thing that goes through your mouth. And that's what killed people, not even the virus, really. It just, you're kind of like, so there you go. But when you have someone on your channel who basically says, this thing turns frogs gay, and you're like, what? When you have Gavin McInnes, the guy that basically started, what was it, that group for young men, and he's really a dickhead. I mean, he really is a fucking dickhead. You can say that about people that you agree with if they don't comport themselves in a way that is valuable. Okay, if all they do is go out and just cause controversy, and McGinnis did that. Proud Boys, he did. He was the founder of Proud Boys. They had him on. He started mocking them because it's like these man babies, which as much as I can't stand Ryan Johnson, he had the right to call them man babies. Okay, because they are, all right. And when you've got people who are not cultural warriors, like Benny Arthur Johnson and others, and you're talking to them, you're not going to get any valuable input. Okay, they're normies, and they also don't really. Talking heads in politics can say whatever they want, but if you want an actual real assessment of a company's worth, you go to you go to a business reporter, you go to a journalist that does financial stuff. Okay, you don't go to Benny Arthur Johnson to talk movies. All right, yes, we know it's woke. Yes, let's talk about solutions. There isn't one. Translation, I make more money when everybody's miserable. So I'm going to spread it as far as I can. So let's talk about the upload that I posted today. So a girl named, what was her name again? Ananya Godbali. She wrote an article about, let me find it. I'll read it a little bit to you. So she basically said fans are going to hate me for this. It's like, yeah. So many on the right, many might not know, Kennedy and Lucas were involved in one of Steven Spielberg's biggest films. I'm going to go so I can get to the, here. All right, I'll give you this one. Kathleen Kennedy has been regarded as one of the most hated people to be part of the Star Wars franchise. Working as president of Lucasfilm, it is as though every failure the franchise faces has been put on her back. Yeah, regardless of who is responsible for the project's unfortunate performance. All right, let me show you a picture of what this little bitch looks like, just so you guys know. Come on. What are you doing? Get off of there. Done. All right. This is who's writing it. Okay, this is the goddess that wrote this bullshit. Okay. She's what, 25 years old? 22? So Kennedy can lead Lucasfilm, but it's everybody else's fault but her when something fails. Despite all of the hate that she gets, there's absolutely no doubt that she is good at what she does. Having started as a producer, she worked on an impressive number of highly successful projects, ultimately joining George Lucas as co-chairman of Lucasfilm until she became president. Their dynamic took them many places, making the Mark Hamill franchise as successful as it is today. Oh yeah, I mean, however, many might not know that Kennedy and Lucas were involved in one of Steven Spielberg's biggest films. Their involvement ended up saving the movie and another one of the director's classics. Steven Spielberg gave an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. Now remember, this is Steven Spielberg. In my uploads got it. Maybe I'll play it for you in a second. Talking about filming Schindler's List while he was working on Jurassic Park. When he was supposed to start working on Schindler's List, Jurassic Park was already in post-production. Despite this, it would seem that the studio was concerned about the director working on two high-profile projects at the same time. Tom Pollock, who was running the featured division of Universal, said, "I think it's great that you're interested in doing Schindler's List, but you've got to finish Jurassic Park first." I was in post on Jurassic Park. I said, "I think I can overlap. I can do Schindler's List while finishing Jurassic Park." The overlap between the two made Tom Pollock, the head of Universal Pictures at the time, nervous. He was concerned that working on both projects when Jurassic Park was being edited and Schindler's List was being filmed in Europe would be impossible. During this time, the adventure film was given higher priority than the World War II film, as they believed it to be more profitable. Tom resisted that. He said, "Jurassic Park is a huge piece of business for this company. You can't abandon it." I said, "Tom, I'm not going to abandon it. I've locked the film. All I have left to do is mix it, score it, and correct the color." And he said, "Well, you can't do that from Eastern Europe." And I said, "Yes, I can." When Pollock raised concerns that the Laura Dern movie, because Sam Neill and and Sir Richard Attenborough and fuck this fucking little shit, Laura Dern movie would be abandoned. Spielberg told him that would not be the case, that he would not go back on his commitment. However, even though he told the Universal executive they would not be able to finish the film, he is now faced with a conundrum about what to do, how he would do it all the way from Europe. All right, so this is the next part. Okay, gotta read this. Turning to his longtime collaborators and friends, Steven Spielberg called Kathleen Kennedy, or George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy, asking them for help. I want to ask you guys a question. You can put your opinions here. How much do you think Kathleen Kennedy had anything to do with mixing Jurassic Park, color correction, and scoring it. You guys put your opinions there. He explained the situation and asked if they could mix and finish the film for him while he made Schindler's List. Now, this is what George says. I called George Lucas and I said, George, I'm in trouble. The studio's really upset with me that I'm not going to mix Jurassic Park and go off to Europe to make Schindler's List. Would you mix Jurassic Park? I already had his mixers working on the film, so George said he'd take over, and he and Kathy mixed the film. Kathleen Kennedy had nothing to do with mixing the film. It wasn't that like she knew any fucking thing about mixing anything. Okay. And it was already that part of George's crew was doing it anyway. Kathleen Kennedy was a producer on Jurassic Park. But the idea, the exalted cartoon character that she is, had anything to do with walking into basically a film lab with all the machines, color correcting, scoring, and mixing a movie. No. And it's like, I'm going, this is bullshit. And it's, you know, when I saw the article, one of Cameron's subscribers put it out there and said, this is another rehab of Kennedy's reputation. All right. Notice something. She didn't go and mix it herself. He didn't call her. No, and James is right. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm stunned. But when you look at who wrote it, oh, and she's a Swiftie too. How old do you think that girl is? 20? Gosh, I don't know why I'm coughing. But this is bullshit. Okay, this is something this girl made up in her mind. The article is, I've never seen such a poorly written article. This girl has written over 1,000 articles. She's a psychology major. And she's interested in history and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, I need a judge's ruling. First off, he said George and Kathy finished it. Kathy was already a producer on Jurassic Park, you stupid little bitch. Okay. Second of all, why would Steven Spielberg have Kathy Kennedy anywhere near finishing up a movie that was so valuable to him? It was valuable to Universal when she's not technically with it. You know, she's not exactly a technical person. Okay, and I'm gonna find this. Okay, here we go. All right.
In the room with her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible, and she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy was supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? If he's saying this, and you've got little Ananya making shit up, which is exactly what she's doing. Okay, making shit up. The problem is this. There is a mythology around Kathleen Kennedy. And James is right on that one. There's a mythology around Kathleen Kennedy that she never corrected. That no one corrected. Okay, you've got the honest to God's truth. I mean, Spielberg in front of her saying she was great at getting a coffee order. And his, McDonald's Egg McMuffin. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's it. Okay, they gave her too much credit. All right, and maybe she had secrets on them. You know, I don't know. I know that apparently she knew where all the bodies were buried. When Vic Morrow and those two kids were killed on the Twilight Zone, the movie, and the director was thrown under the bus. But the rumors were everybody was stoned out of their mind on coke, just absolutely flying, and safety precautions were not taken seriously. Thanks, Cross, and there you go. There you have it. Okay. But if that's it, that's all. Okay. So everybody has to sit there and suffer in silence with her because why? These are the things that make you go, what the fuck? Okay. And I don't mind saying what the fuck. Okay. The fact is, and like I had a debate on another friend's stream on Friday where there's this guy who's very, his opinion, in my opinion about George, the prequels, ugh, and I was pretty much, yeah, whatever. I thought the prequels were great. How I did it was I said, it's really funny when I saw the prequels when they first came out, and I took my nephews to go see them, I thought, what the fuck is he doing? But then, after watching The Force Awakens, I decided to watch episodes 1 through 6 because I had the flu and I just wanted to, I was wrapped up in a blanket with chills, watching them, and I suddenly realized this is actually really good storytelling. Okay, guy was pissed at me, all right? I don't give a fuck. There are people out there that are not fans of anything. And the fact that George Lucas has, $4 billion pisses them off. Anybody making that much money pisses them off. Me? I don't care how much, it's not my business. All right, it's not your business. Somebody's got $4 billion. Is he Elon Musk? Did he create an electric car that, seems to work within certain limits? Yes. Is he trying to get, space travel going? Yes. And you're like looking at him and you're like, what the fuck is your problem with this? All right. And these are people who think that there are 5 polar bears left in the Arctic and the population's actually been increasing. And Arctic ice is has increased 21%, But these are people that hate Elon Musk because he supports free speech. All right. I mean, they forgot who they are. Okay. I mean, when you get old punkers like Cherry Curry attacking the Democrat Party viciously over transing kids, interest rates, all this shit, corruption, and you've got, Johnny Rotten himself calling out the left and calling them pissy little twats, you gotta go, they're the establishment. They're the establishment. They're the people that believe everything they're told. They're the ones that look at anybody going, that's not what happened, as crazy conspiracy theorists, without doing their due diligence. Look, both sides of the the cornfield, on the left and on the far right, Gary and Nerd Rat, whatever, those guys, they all feed on people's fear. And they want you to be afraid. These guys because they want to make money. Okay, these guys because they don't want you to like something that's actually good. These guys, because they want power, these guys do too. Ultimately, it's all about money and power. All right. And then you've got sad little girls like this Ananya with a nothing article. I mean, if that's how Kennedy is trying to rehab her image through somebody that looks like she should be chewing bubble gum and going up and down on a swing set or bopping around to some demonic Taylor Swift song. What I read to you guys was a terrible article. Okay. This is not how you do news. This is her taking Steven Spielberg out of context, not understanding that Kennedy was already producing she was also producing Schindler's List, which I might add, she was going to Europe too. Okay? Now, Kathy might have been part of the finishing. Look, Clownfish TV, Neon is just like everybody else. And you gotta understand, hardcore libertarians like that are negative too. Okay? Neon doesn't want it to happen. None of these guys want it to happen. Because who are they gonna hate? You know, this is why don't watch them anymore. Don't give these people money. Use that money, put it in the bank. Put it in a collection, like a DVD collection or something like that. Blu-rays. You know, buy your dog a toy, buy your kids something. Take your kids out for ice cream. Take your wife out to dinner, take your husband out to dinner. Take that money. I mean, I looked at it, and since I just absolutely told everybody to go fuck off, I've got more money because of spending it all on fucking super chats. Like, I would spend a good $200 a month on super chats. Now that money goes to subscriptions, DVDs, toys for me to put up in my collection, clothes, stuff for my horse, toys for the dog. All right. And that's the thing. And look, again, they're ageist. I mean, when you look at some of these guys, I mean, Gary Beekler's got to be, 50 years old? Who the fuck is he talking to? Have you looked at yourself in the mirror lately? You're not exactly a spring chicken, okay? They're ageist. I mean, oh my God, the wailing and moaning about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Harrison Ford's too old. He can't do it. He's up on a horse, galloping around. He got hurt, but it's like, look, he gets hurt on every Indiana Jones movie. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he had a very bad disc issue coming out of Sri Lanka when they were riding elephants, because it's your body. I mean, it just wrecks you. And the scene where he grabs that bad guy and he flips him over his back, they could hear him thank you. They could hear him screaming down the hall. That's how bad it hurt. So he had to lay down between takes, and finally it was so miserable, Steven called George Lucas and said, I don't know what to do. He can't go on. Lucas jumps on an airplane, flies to London, sees Harrison and says, okay, we're shutting down production until we figure what's up with him. Harrison is flown back to LA, goes through an experimental treatment, and comes back seemingly fine. Okay. he got his knee run over by the airplane in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade was the only one he didn't get hurt in. So it's like, yeah, and what? It's a day that ends in Y, and this is special how. And then they finished the movie, and he was crawling up fucking walls after he got hurt, and it's like you're going, and then of course he makes 1923 for Taylor Sheridan, riding a horse, doing all this shit, and it's like he does things that those guys couldn't imagine. I mean, let me ask you a question. Anybody here imagine Neon or Gary on riding a horse? And I mean a good horse, not one that's just gonna go poking around, like my horse, Kay. Kay would look at them and go, oh boy, I'm going to have fun with you. And then she'd proceed to teach them how to ride and to hold on, because if they didn't, they'd be on the ground. Okay. Riding a good horse that is up on the bit, full of piss and vinegar, is something for someone who's got guts, who can trust the animal, trust him or herself, and it's not for the faint of heart, okay? And the idea that, the age has something to do with something is just fucking pathetic, okay? I mean, Pablo Hidalgo's almost 50. He's gonna be, yeah, he is. Who the fuck are you to bitch about somebody's age, you shithead? You're gonna be that age too. Okay? There you go. There you go. All right. But again, let's go back to rehabbing Kennedy's, reputation. Here's the thing. Obviously, little Ananya Godbolley, that's her last name, Godbolley, is not a very good writer. She doesn't, she assumed that Kennedy was the one that sat in the, in the suite and did all the mixing and everything. And what it looked like to me was that Spielberg needed like somebody to oversee what was going on, and to maybe sit down at whatever machine they use. I don't know. Having me mix a movie would be the same thing as having Kennedy mix a movie. That's how. I don't know anything about it. Okay. But obviously, because Kennedy was already a producer of Jurassic Park, Spielberg just said, Kathy, can you kind of see what George is up to and be there? Okay, Steven, All right, fine. Does that mean that she sat in the suite and did it herself? Fuck no! She's probably sitting on a stool, watching, not knowing what the fuck they were doing. And if she did know something about it, she'd probably know enough to make her dangerous. Okay, now, Matt Bellany, when he said that in his On the Town podcast, was very smartly saying, I've heard she's not woke, yada, yada, yada. I've criticized her a lot in the past, but she's not woke. Then what else is she? By default, she's incompetent. And you don't necessarily have to be woke to turn the other cheek when young wokesters like Ryan Johnson and Pablo Hidalgo are kicking the shit out of your fan base. All right. All you have to do is be a miserable, angry feminazi. And you also have to be, as per what Steven Spielberg described, incredibly fucking stupid. Okay? That happens. People who are in a position way above their pay grade. It happens. Okay? And it's, there's a term for it. Let me see. There's a term for it. All right. All right. Peter Principle is a concept of management developed by Lawrence Peter, which observes that people in a hierarchy tend to rise to a level of respective incompetence. Employees are promoted based on their success in previous jobs until they reach a level at which they are no longer incompetent. Ta-da! There we go. Okay. The reason why she did well with George when they were co-presidents of Lucasfilm is because George was there. Okay? George was there. All right? And, when he wasn't, and she got it all to herself, it went to hell and back. Yeah, and that's another thing. Next time one of you guys feel like going on, ask Neon, do you think maybe there was a quid pro quo with Iger? I will vote for you, but you've got to give me this. I mean, look, they don't want to believe it. They would much rather George hates them. They would much rather feel like they were betrayed. This is how fucking simple, they're simpletons. This is how they look, okay? And I'm going to say, by that token, the people on Kennedy's corner are terrified. If it's true, okay? Now we've got the king of the wokesters at Lucasfilm disappearing from X for the second quarter. Why? Why? And he on the social media platform Blue Skies, he just babbles nonsense. Nonsense. So you're looking around going, there's something definitely off about all this. It's not hard to put two and two together and say, there was a quid pro quo here. Okay? There was a quid pro quo here. Sure, Bob, I'll vote for you. I want to have influence in Lucasfilm. I don't want to have to go back necessarily and lead it, but I want to be the beginning and the end of anything they do for a while. Okay, I want back in. Not a problem, especially since it's obvious from just by looking at what we know publicly that Kennedy is not around. When you have one of the biggest leakers in on X, let me see, find out what his name is. The Whip T, that guy basically confirms what Sparrow said, and this guy breaks everything correctly. I think he's the only one who does. And you've got Matt Bellany implying, just without saying it, that there's something going on. With Kennedy, yes, there is. Okay. The reason I think why Ananya and other people The whipped tea. Why Ananya and other people are writing these articles in defense of Kennedy is because they know something bad is, in their opinion, going on. Okay? And they know that she is probably on her way out. Look, from what we know about her contract, she had a you cannot fire her for cause clause. And if her movies made $1 billion, over a billion or over, she was automatically renewed. Last movie she made lost money. So already there's no renewal. All right, I mean, it's no. You know, so what is going on here? Again, this is my opinion. We are not going to hear anything unless we do hear something before October. Okay. But as Jason Hunt said on Sci-Fi for Me, that we would already be hearing about her contract being renewed. All right. But we haven't. All right. There hasn't been any movement. You know, Matt Bellany would have said something. All right. And it great. It's very interesting to me that, you know, people, and I'm going to say this too, before I say anything else. People don't want her to go that hate her. Okay. There's a story out there about a man who absolutely loved his mother, hated his father. When the father was just ignored him, would just like be like whatever. And the mother died and he was devastated, but he didn't cry. And he was like mommy's girl. When the father died, he broke down into tears and was inconsolable. Don't hate somebody or something so much that you will not know what to do with yourself once they're gone or the issue's gone. Okay? Because what do you win then? What does spending all that energy on this woman do for you? Okay? I'm just here because I'm watching the end of it. I mean, this is the end of Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, this is, you know, she did it to herself. Okay, she is not the let's put it this way, she's not the woman that Ananya thinks. Her only successes came by working with George and Stephen and Harrison and Frank and Clint and Robert, Martin Scorsese. That's it. Those were her successes. All right. Everything she's done since then has been a level of failure. Now, you can't explain something to people. Doesn't matter if the movie made $1 billion. Disney tracked this movie to make $2.5 billion, and it made 1.3. That's $1.2 billion less than Disney tracked it for. This movie was supposed to make, I don't know, the last one, I forget what the business Wall Street tracked it for, but The Rise of Palpatine only made about just barely $1 billion, just squeaked by. To me, you go from 2.03 to 1.3 to barely $1 billion. That's a failure. That's a downward slide. And in between there, you have a movie that, you know, they like to say Solo lost $90 million. No, it didn't. It lost about $200 million, 250. All right. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny probably lost the same amount. Okay, there comes a time when you just gotta go, no, 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 no. Okay, uh, this is not success. All right, this is not anything. And the Ray movie. I mean, I guess Daisy Ridley said recently to some pain in the ass little reporter that she's getting a script next month. Stephen Knight is making Peaky Blinders the movie. All right, it's like fucking quit it, let it go. Some troll from Gary's, the shitheads came over and says, "But she's working on herself with her own movie." No, she's not. The only movie she's got going right now is Twisters for Universal, and it's the same situation that Victoria Alonso got fired for. Okay? I rest my case. We just gotta see what's gonna happen next. Okay. Do I think George is coming back? I think if they can figure out a good story, I think if he's comfortable with it, and I think if there's no chance of Kathy Kennedy, he'll come back. All right? Look, Kathy burnt bridges with him. All right? She burnt bridges with him. That's all I'm gonna say. Steph, signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.